When the original Xbox One and PS4 consoles came out, it looked like video games on consoles, at least, had opted to sit out the 4K revolution that was already sweeping the TV world. Both consoles were originally resolutely HD only, and there wasn't so much as a sniff of support for the high dynamic range HDR technology that was just joining 4K on the TV scene. Skip forward 3 years and mid-generation hardware updates have given us the PS4 Pro and Xbox One S consoles capable of outputting both 4K and HDR for video and gaming purposes. Although, PCs are starting to see graphics cards supporting 4K and HDR, too. To sweeten the deal, just round the corner we have the Xbox One X, the most powerful console ever made, capable of delivering a whole new era of native 4K HDR gaming beauty. While this is all brilliant news for the quality of our gaming experiences, though, it puts ever more pressure on your TV. A console can have all the power in the world, but if it's attached to a TV that can't harness that power, it might as well be a ZX Spectrum. Well, not quite, but you get our point. Unlocking the good stuff. So what exactly does a TV need to be able to do these days to unlock your full gaming potential? Let's start with arguably the most basic requirement: 4K resolution. The Xbox One S outputs all of its games in 4K, achieved via surprisingly good built-in upscaling. The PS4 Pro outputs games in 4K too, using a mix of upscaling and in-game enhancement. The Xbox One X, meanwhile, has been designed with enough power to drive more games than ever before with native game engine integrated 4K support. Yes, you can still get non-4K Xbox One and PS4 consoles, and the Nintendo Switch isn't interested in 4K either. And yes, non-4K games will have to be upscaled by a 4K TV, so won't be totally pure. However, upscaling is remarkably good on the best 4K TVs now, and can be done without adding significant delay to the time it takes a TV to render pictures. 4K resolution can be transformative, especially on big screens. And basically 4K is just the way everything is going now, both in the gaming and video worlds, so not being set up for it with your new TV just doesn't make sense. Change your range. Sitting right alongside 4K in today's video world is high dynamic range HDR technology. This delivers pictures with a much wider light range than the standard dynamic range pictures we've been living with for decades, in a bid to get the pictures we're seeing on our screens looking closer to the way our eyes see the real world. The Xbox One S supports HDR on some of its games, and via some of its streaming apps. The same situation applies for both the PS4 and PS4 Pro, and naturally the Xbox One X will deliver HDR too. Most people would say that HDR done well delivers more impact than 4K, especially on small screens. The only problem is that HDR puts a lot of pressure on a TV, since it demands both much more brightness than SDR, and better contrast so that the extra brightness and deeper blacks can potentially share the screen simultaneously. In fact, HDR done badly can look worse than SDR done decently well. Something to think about if you're considering buying a very cheap TV. Let there be light. One of the most important elements of a good HDR performance is brightness. Many movies and games target 1000 nits or so for their brightest elements, so if you have a TV less bright than that, it won't unlock HDR's full potential. Especially in a video game environment, where graphics can be more stark in contrast terms than real life tends to be. It's perfectly possible for TVs to deliver great HDR pictures without reaching 1000 nits and more of brightness. This is particularly true with OLED screens, for instance. But the darker a screen, the harder its processing is going to have to work to try and figure out how to resolve picture information in HDR areas above its capabilities. Lag lame. If you're a really serious gamer, especially when it comes to reaction-based online games, you need to care about input lag, the time it takes for a particular TV to render image that are received at its inputs. Obviously you're looking for low numbers if you don't want to be shot in the face by an opponent your TV hasn't even shown. Yet again, manufacturers don't tend to provide input lag figures in their provided specifications. However, we generally measure input lag on the TVs we test. Also, I've provided the input lag measurements for all of our recommended TVs. Roger that. Over and out sound design has always played an integral part in a great gaming experience. It's getting taken to another level these days, though, with the arrival of surround sound gaming. In fact, the Xbox One S and Xbox One X consoles even support Dolby Atmos, Dolby's most advanced sound system yet, which introduces a high channel and object-based precision to the sound stage. With impressively good timing, LG is about to roll out support for Dolby Atmos over HDMI to its 2017 OLED TVs, some of which ship with integrated soundbars any moment now. Also, while integrated Atmos support isn't found elsewhere yet, this year has seen a surge in TVs featuring really powerful sound systems. So unless you're thinking of investing in an external sound system, it will certainly pay you to have sound as well as picture quality in mind when you buy your gaming TV. Things to pay attention to are whether speakers are facing forwards, as this will almost always give you a more direct, clean sound-rated power output, whether there's a dedicated bass speaker often found on a TV's rear built-in soundbars, and the number of individual speakers used. The chosen one suck. Now that the essential buying advice done and you're an AV expert, let's now pick out our selection of the best gaming TVs you can currently buy, taking in a combination of price and sheer quality. Point 1. Samsung Q9F QLED TV series. Excellent 4K HDR pictures, insanely bright, some backlight clouding issues. This high-end 65-inch Samsung set has a number of unique gaming-friendly advantages. For starters, unique screen filters mean that pictures are almost completely unaffected by ambient light. And trust us, being able to game in daylight and enjoy pictures that look as intense, bright and contrast-rich as they do in a dark room is nothing short of a revelation. The 65-inch screen also delivers hands down the brightest pictures the TV world has seen, which works wonders on the intensity of a typical game's graphics, especially if the game is available in HDR. The set resolves 4K resolutions majestically too, while its heavy-duty build quality enables it to produce a fairly potent and distortion-free audio performance despite its having seemingly no visible speakers. If all that wasn't exciting enough, the QE65Q9F-AM blows out the competition with an exceptionally low 12 milliseconds of input lag when using its game mode. The QE65Q9F-AM can suffer with some gentle light clouding issues during very high contrast HDR sequences, and it's also, alas, painfully expensive. But if you want the best, etc., review link. Samsung Q9F QLED TV. Gorgeous, contrast-rich images, built-in soundbar is great. The B7 has the same panel, while the OLED 55E7 doesn't have nearly as much HDR-friendly brightness as the Samsung Q9F range. It's stunning when it comes to the other end of the brightness story, delivering gorgeously rich, deep black colors completely free of the sort of clouding issues that LCD TVs suffer with. Also, while OLED can't yet go as measurably bright as LCD, the way the darkest pixel in an OLED picture can sit right next to the brightest with no contamination between the two gives the OLED 55E7's pictures a lovely luminous quality that's particularly effective during dark game settings. It's great to see, too, that LG has got input lag down to just 22 milliseconds across all source types, using its game picture preset. One last big attraction of the OLED 55E7 is its built-in soundbar. This will soon be able to handle Dolby Atmos from the Xbox One S and Xbox One X consoles, and can produce a huge wall of bass-rich sound provided you run it loud. That works brilliantly for gaming without the need for an external audio system. Review link. LG OLED E7. Exceptional picture quality, space-saving design, input lag figure of around 38 ms. Sony's XE9305 range is unique in the LCD TV world for using two light guide plates. This essentially gives it twice as much control over how much light reaches different parts of the screen as you get with other edge-lit LCD TVs. As a result, the 55-inch 55XE9305XBR55X930E in the US can put ferociously bright HDR highlights up to 1400 nits and more on the screen alongside deep blacks more effectively than any other edge LCD to date. Colors also look superbly rich and vibrant thanks to Sony's triluminos processing, and no brands handle motion as slickly as Sony. You can sometimes see traces of light blocking around standout HDR objects, but for the most part the 55XE9305's pictures are blisteringly bright gaming nirvana. The only niggle is the 55XE9305's input lag figure of around 38 milliseconds. This is slightly higher than what ideally see, and occasionally momentarily slips to 52 milliseconds. Read the full review. Sony XBRX930E KDXE93 Series 75-inch Sony KD75XD9405 class-leading HDR picture, low 12 milliseconds of input lag, not always a 10-bit panel, doesn't use local dimming. Samsung's MU7000 series is the brightest TVs in their price class, immediately giving it an advantage over the affordable competition for HDR gaming, especially as they surprisingly manages to deliver better or, at least, more consistent black levels than Samsung's more expensive 2017 models. They don't use local dimming, however. While this means it can't get as deep with its black colors as TVs that use local dimming, it also means you don't see as many distracting clouding problems. Oh, FYI, the 49-inch panel is only 8-bit, but colors still look rich and mostly free of striping, and bigger MU7000s are actually 10-bit. Even better, input lag on the UE49 MU7000's game mode is a phenomenally low 12 milliseconds. Read the review. Samsung MU7000 series digitally enhanced backlight 10 milliseconds of input lag, but only in gaming mode. Upon a Sonic's latest LCD TV might not be as bright as most of its rivals, but it does have a rather cool trick up its sleeve: new digitally enhanced backlight technology that adjusts the angle of each pixel to reduce the usual light clouding problems associated with LCD technology. This gives you dark gaming scenes more uniformity, making it easier to remain immersed in the action. The 50EX750 also stands out from the crowd for gaming with its outstanding 10 milliseconds of input lag when using its gaming mode. Frustratingly, you actually get comfortably the best picture quality from the 50EX750 if you use its dynamic picture preset, but you could always stick with dynamic for most of your gaming and only switch to game when you're playing something where reaction times are really important. Jaw-dropping HDR pictures, unexpectedly good sound, sim backlight, blooming color striping in HDR mode, while the OLED 55B7 lacks the ultra-glamorous design and built-in soundbar of the LG OLED 55E7. Higher up this list, remarkably, it delivers almost exactly the same high level of contrast-rich picture quality for a whole lot less. Input lag remains equally strong at just 21 milliseconds too, and while it's important to stress again that OLED's 740 nits of peak brightness limits the impact of its HDR pictures in some ways, its ability to place deep black colors just a pixel away. Read the review. LG OLED B7 strong picture quality, attractive design, struggles for brightness, input lag, and slip to 50 ms. One of our final recommendations for a gaming TV is another big one. This gives us the chance to raise one final issue about gaming on today's consoles and PCs compared with previous generations, that you really have to think big if you're going to get anything like the ultimate gaming experience. This is partly because you need a relatively large screen to get the most from 4K resolutions, but also because the main TV brands are increasingly only building truly HDR-friendly color, contrast and brightness performances into their relatively large and, alas, expensive TVs. Even a 55-inch Sony model struggles for brightness a little in its bid to make 4K HDR pictures relatively affordable. However, it does a great job with colors within that brightness limitation thanks to Sony's Triluminos processing engine, while its black level performance is outstanding for such an affordable and edge-lit LCD model. It also only suffers with 21 milliseconds of input lag on average, though oddly, its lag occasionally slips to around 50 milliseconds for a frame or 2.65-inch Philips 65PUS7601. Excellent backlight control, great price for the picture quality. Complicated picture setup doesn't deliver full HDR experience. The 65PUS7601 boasts arguably the single most aggressively game-friendly feature on this list, in the shape of its Ambilight system. Ambilight uses LED lights ranged along the TV's rear, left, right and top edges to throw out colored lights that can be continually matched in terms of shade, intensity and even location to the colors in the picture you're watching. The result is greatly enhanced connection with what you're watching, something that's especially useful where gaming is concerned. The Ambilight system even features a dedicated gaming mode, designed to react faster than normal to changes in your game graphics. The 65PUS7601 also provides generally strong for its reasonably low price 4K and HDR picture quality, and you can get input lag down to only around 30 milliseconds if you're careful how you set it up. The set even features a dedicated HDR game mode that adjusts the HDR processing to suit the relatively stark and precise look of game graphics versus natural video. If you want to learn more about shopping for gaming TVs, we've added a bit more info below. Read on to level up your AV knowledge. Skill bots and BOBs connected to the HDR point. You might want to think about your gaming TV's bit depth. The best HDR experience requires a 10-bit screen able to support 1024 values of each RGB color, otherwise you will get an inferior color performance, including possibly color striping where you should see subtle blends. Most premium HDR TVs these days are 10-bit, but it's far from a given at the relatively affordable end of the TV market. The Xbox One S and PS4 consoles automatically assess the bit depth of your TV and select the optimum HDR video output accordingly. The Xbox One S even provides a description of your TV's capabilities under 4K TV details in its advanced video settings menu. The Xbox One X will presumably do the same. To be clear, it's entirely possible for an 8-bit TV to deliver a good HDR color performance if they have a strong video processing engine. But 10-bit panels certainly have an immediate advantage. One other point to add here is that some TVs including high-end Samsung models actually support 12-bit color management processing, even though their panels are only natively 10-bit. The Xbox One S and presumably Xbox One X both provide color depth boxes in their video fidelity settings that let you select the maximum bit performance for your particular TV, color purity and other advanced settings. But important thing to consider for the ultimate gaming visuals is chroma subsampling. This video compression term refers to a TV's color purity, and is usually written in such terms as 444 and 420. These numbers reveal how many pixels color is sampled from in the top and bottom rows for every 2 rows of 4 pixels. So with 420, for instance, color is being sampled from 2 pixels in the top row and no pixels in the bottom row. From this it follows that the bigger the numbers are, the purer the color performance will be, as there's less guesstimating of what colors should look like. The problem is full 444 color support requires a lot of extra image data, and so cannot be handled by the HDMI connections or processing of all TVs. In truth, the differences in picture quality between 444 and 422 and even 420 aren't usually enormous. They can be more pronounced with gaming graphics than video, though, so it's worth trying to check what a TV you're thinking of buying can support, even though it's not information regularly carried in TV spec lists. The latest consoles are pretty good at detecting the optimum chroma subsampling a TV can support, automatically adjusting their outputs according. It's something that can cause annoying handshaking issues with some TVs, though, so both the Xbox One S and PS4 Pro now provide subsampling limiter options in their video output menus. Enable 422 on the Xbox One S, and 2160 YUV 420 on the PS4 Pro. Frame rate handling. Now that the Xbox One X is almost here in promising native 4K resolution games running at 60 frames a second, make sure that whatever TV you buy has the latest specification HDMI socket. If it doesn't have at least one HDMI socket built to the V2.0A specification, it won't be able to receive 4K resolution at anything higher than 30 frames a second. Fortunately, far more of this year's 4K TVs do feature HDMI 2.0 sockets than in previous years, but it's still something that's worth double-checking, especially if you're buying a particularly cheap TV. Now you know everything there is to know about gaming TVs.